All right, today we are diving into the absolutely epic 3,000-year story of ancient Egypt. We're talking about a civilization that built wonders, forged empires, and did it all based on one single powerful idea.
I mean, think about that. For 3 entire millennia, this one culture, with its incredible gods, its towering monuments, and its divine kings, was pretty much the center of the world. It really shaped so much of human history.
So the big question is, how? How did they last for so long? Well, the answer isn't just buried in the sand or carved into stone. It's actually in this incredible story they told themselves about how the universe worked, a story of order versus chaos.
And that whole worldview, it all kicks off with their creation myth. And at its core, it's this epic cosmic battle between 2 forces that are complete opposites, but are also totally essential.
Okay, so at the very heart of everything for the Egyptians was this concept called Ma'at. You can think of it as divine order or cosmic balance, but here's the key. It wasn't guaranteed. It was this delicate thing that had to be fought for, constantly defended from all the forces trying to tear it apart.
In this whole cosmic struggle, it was perfectly summed up in the story of 2 brothers, 2 gods. You had Osiris, who was all about order. He's the one who brought civilization, agriculture, and law to the green, fertile lands along the Nile. And then you had his brother Set, who was the total opposite. He was the violent, raw, unpredictable chaos of the scorching hot desert.
And, well, this is where the story gets dark. Driven by jealousy, Set murders his own brother in the ultimate act of betrayal. He tricks Osiris into a coffin, slams it shut, and just like that, chaos takes over. The world is thrown into darkness and terror.
So here's what's so important to get. This core belief, this idea of constantly defending order from chaos, it wasn't just a story they told their kids. It literally became the blueprint for their entire society.
You have to understand, the pharaoh wasn't just a king. He was seen as a living god, right here on Earth. He was the human version of Horus, who was Osiris's son, and his #1 job, his whole reason for being, was to maintain Ma'at, that cosmic balance for everyone. So how do you show you're maintaining cosmic order? Well, the pharaohs of the Old Kingdom mobilized the entire nation to build on a scale that is just mind-boggling, even today. Building a pyramid wasn't just about making a fancy tomb. It was a national project to physically impose order on the landscape, 1 2.5-ton stone at a time.
And the pyramids themselves were so much more than tombs. You got to think of them as resurrection machines. They were these massive, permanent stairways designed to connect the earth to the heavens, making sure the pharaoh, and with him all of order, could live on forever.
Okay, so you have this incredibly stable foundation built on the idea of divine order. What happens next? Well, that foundation is about to fuel Egypt's greatest moment, an era of unbelievable power and empire, known as the New Kingdom.
And boy, did it transform. During the New Kingdom, Egypt just exploded out of its traditional borders. It became this sprawling military superpower, pushing its influence, its armies, and its culture all across the ancient world.
And if you want to talk about this era, you have to talk about one man, Ramesses the Great. His reign was ridiculously long, 66 years, and it was packed with action. We're talking massive battles like Kadesh, but also incredible diplomacy like the world's first ever recorded peace treaty. And of course, he built massive temples to make sure nobody ever forgot about it.
But you know how these stories go. Even the mightiest empires can't last forever. And Egypt's golden age started to see some serious cracks appear, not just from enemies on the outside, but from deep within. The first major crack, and this was a big one, came from the top. A pharaoh named Akhenaten decided to throw out thousands of years of tradition. He got rid of all the old gods and said, "Nope, we only worship one god now, the sun disk, Aten." As you can imagine, this threw the entire country into religious and social chaos.
Then, as if that wasn't enough, came a huge shock from the outside. These mysterious invaders we still call the Sea Peoples just appeared, sweeping across the Mediterranean and toppling empires. Now, Egypt managed to fight them off and survive, but it was a massive blow. It left them weak and drained.
So you've got chaos from within and a massive hit from without. The empire fractured, and what came next was this long, slow, painful decline. For about 1,000 years, it was a story of civil wars and being ruled by foreigners, Libyans, Nubians, Persians.
each one chipping away a little more of that great eternal kingdom.
And all of that decline, all that history, it brings us to one final, incredible, dramatic chapter. The final act of pharaonic Egypt, personified by one of the most famous women who has ever lived.
Yeah, Cleopatra. But forget the myths for a second. She wasn't just the last queen, she was this brilliant, tough, and incredibly skilled ruler. We're talking a political mastermind who spoke multiple languages and was the last defiant defender of a 3,000-year-old legacy.
Her story is just the ultimate high-stakes gamble. She was betting everything, her brains, her charm, her kingdom's immense wealth against the single most powerful rising force on the planet, Rome. It was a clash of worlds.
But in the end, after a devastating defeat, not even her genius could hold back the tide. The Roman war machine was just too powerful.
And with her death, the age of the pharaohs, that incredible 3,000-year run, was officially over. Egypt just became another province of the Roman Empire. But it makes you wonder, right? What happens when the physical body of a civilization dies, but its ideas, its art, its stories, what if those live on? Did it ever really die?